Ghana Legon for their take on the issue, and these were their reactions.
Since the lectures are on strike, basically, lectures are not going on. Okay, so you see students walking around, and then I'm a research assistant, but it's like they are coming for the research work. Okay, they come for the research work, but it's the lecturing that it's not going on. Okay, so my work hasn't really been affected.
And so nothing has really happened because lectures have not started. Even the continuing students are yet to report to school this Thursday. So it's just level 100s and they are now going through orientation. So nothing has really happened. Yeah.
I said for me, I will go home because there is no teacher here and we came here to learn. And if the teachers are on strike, I don't think it's necessary for us to be in the school. So for me, I will go home.
We heard of the strike yesterday, and I think that it's very frustrating because we don't know our way around it. If it continues, I think I'll go home.
So I think we need to go home, and those things might be in the school because they can't go back. We don't know when the teachers are resuming to. So most of us staying around, we might go home. For me, I might go home.
Right, so there you have it, a report by our news team with regards to this very subject matter. Now let's turn and look at the communique issued by the University Teachers Association of Ghana, a press statement issued by the University Teachers Association of Ghana, and it's dated on the 8th of January 2022, communique. And we refer to our communique dated 11th November 2022 to 24th December 2021 with reference number, and there you have the reference number there respectively. And it says it's at its emergency meeting held on Tuesday and Friday 4th and 7th January 2022 respectively, the National Executive Communique of UTAG discussed the worsening condition of services of the university teachers and the failure of employer in addressing the plight of UTAG members within the agreed timeline. It may be realized that the interim market premium IMP, which was instituted following the implementation of the single spine pay policy, got frozen per a government white paper in 2013 for the purpose of the conduct of LMS to determine the MP payable to workers deserving of it. To date, this determination has not been made, which has resulted in the erosion of the university teachers' salary. There was a hope that by completing and implementing the labor market survey report of the 2019, a review of the IMP would have put the teacher or the university teacher on a relatively good salary stage. Regrettably, the recommendation of the 2009 LMS report without any accompanying technical report on the implementation of MP is meaningless to UTAG, and it does not address the pertinent issues of improved condition of services. Now, interestingly, however, there was a labor market survey in 2014 whose reports did not see the light of the day, and One wonders if the 2019 LMS report would have been implemented, since it's already 2 years old. In addition, recommendation that is 3 of the 2009 LMS report states that Public Services Commission should liaise with educational institutions to prioritize the offering of courses in area of demand to increase the employment prospect of their graduates and increase the pool of applicants for their vacancies. How can such a national agenda be attained if the condition of service of the university teacher keeps worsening year on year, leading to an over-increase attrition rate of our campuses? UTAG members see the timing of the release of this report as one of the usual delay tactics that the employer has employed over the years, which is unacceptable. So there you have it. This is a communique issued by the University Teachers Association of Ghana in response to their nationwide strike or their strike action. But interestingly, the National Labour Commission of Ghana seem not to be in agreement with this very subject matter, or perhaps with a communique issued by the University Teachers Association of Ghana. And of course, you recall that there's been a back and forth between the National Labour Commission and the University Teachers Association of Ghana and other members who form part of this very dispute. And the National Labour Commission has also issued a press statement which is dated on the 13th of January 2022, which captures the statement, the facts and the finding and what the recommendations are. And I'm going to read it out to you as well. And it says, directive to call off ongoing strike by the University Teachers Association of Ghana, UTAG. Now, on Thursday, 13th January 2022, the National Labour Commission heard the disputing parties in the matter of strike by members of UTAG, which commenced on 10th of January 2022. And here is the representation, and it says, government, the complainant employer, was represented by the Minister of Employment and Labour Relations and his deputy, the Deputy Minister of Finance and the Chief Executive of Fair Wages and Salary Commission, and the Director General of the Ghana Tertiary Education Commission, amongst others. UTAG, the respondents' union, was represented by the President of UTAG and some executives of UTAG as well. Brief facts of the complaint case. The complaint submitted that UTAG did not follow due process before instituting the strike petition, and thus the commission declares the strike as illegal. Let's take note of this very subject matter. The strike as illegal. 2, the issue over which UTAG has embarked upon strike has been resolved, i.e. that the Fair Wages Salary Commission should furnish them with copy of the report of the Labour Market Survey. It goes on to say that the Fair Wages Salary Commission presented the report to UTAG on 7th of January 2022 with the understanding that the parties that UTAG will study and submit its feedback. Thus, there's no issue in dispute over which UTAG should embark on the strike. Now, the brief facts of the respondent's case is that the respondent submitted that 1, it was not entirely true that there was no outstanding issues, because there were other pending issues apart from the LMS report which had been resolved. 2, they had been waiting on the employer to address those issues without success. Now, the findings that came out of this commission also states that the commission, upon hearing the parties and examining the evidence, finds as following. 1, that a strike by UTAG is illegal and it did not follow due processes prescribed by sub-party 2 of the Act 651 on the settlement of industrial disputes, specifically Section 159 and notice of strike. 2, that the issue over which UTAG embarked upon the strike has been settled. That is a submission of the report on the Labour Market Survey. 3, the UTAG may have other issues, but those had not yet been formally presented to the employer for redress. Now, the directives given by the commission also states that the National Labour Commission, in exercise of its powers under Section 139 of the Labour Act 2003, Act 651, directs the following: that the members of UTAG should immediately call off the ongoing strike and resume work. 2, UTAG should formally submit the other issues UTAG should formally submit the other issues it said were in dispute to the employer for redress, for the parties to negotiate on them and report back to the commission after 1 month, that is 16th February 2022. This is signed by Honorable Ofosu Asamoah, Executive Secretary for the Commission. So this is exactly what the National Labour Commission is also stating. They have put together their statement, their finding, and they have given a directive. They've given a directive that UTAG should quickly, as it were, if possible, move back to the classroom or call off the strike and move back to the lecture halls. We have been joined in the studio, on phone lines by the Vice President for UTAG KNUST, who is the person of Dr. Eric K.K. Agbava. Good morning. Good evening, sir. Hello, good evening, sir.
Yeah, hello.
Yes, good evening, sir. How are you?
I'm good, sir.
Right. Welcome to Pan African Television. This is News Recap. Now, real quick, we understand what is happening with regards to the strike, and we know that you have stated that reason why you're going on this strike or reason why you are being on this strike is as a result of the worsening conditions of service. Now, for want of a better education, describe to us what these conditions or worsening conditions of services are, briefly.
Thank you very much, Barnes, for your question and also your viewers. It's very interesting to note how this whole thing had become.
Right.
When we say worsening conditions, the worsening condition of service of the university lecturer is completely worse because it began from 2013. Let me give you the genesis of how this story began.
Right.
Maybe that will help to inform your viewers. You all recall when the single spine was introduced. When the single spine was introduced in 2012, university teachers were put on it. In 2013, the government issued what is called a white paper.
Right.
And in that white paper, the government, before that, the university teacher had been enjoying what is called professional allowance.
Okay.
Professional allowance. And the government decided to convert that into what is called the market premium. But before the government could, as it were, determine what the market premium was, it has to do scientific work. And subject to the completion of that scientific work, which is termed as the labor market survey, the government couldn't, or the employer couldn't just wait. So it introduced what is called the interim market survey.
Right.
Underline the interim market survey.
Right.
The interim market premium. Sorry. Interim market premium.
Yeah, that is the
Please
IMP.
underline that for me.
That is the IMP.
IMP.
Right.
So as the word implies, it's an interim. Interim. It is not an actual.
Right.
Now, the government had to go ahead and prepare what is called the labor market survey, and on the basis of the labor market survey, they could determine the real market premium of the lecturer.
Okay.
And when the interim market survey was, interim market premium was introduced, with that the basic of the lecturer at 2013, the university lecturer was going home with $2,084.
If you can repeat that, $2,084.
Yes, $2,084.
Okay.
I hope you're okay with that.
Right.
Now, let's move on. I just want to give you a very holistic picture.
Right, we are following.
So that it doesn't appear that UTAG is demanding what's so necessary.
Great.
And so the government then, as of the internet market, is determined that the university lecturer worth or market value of 114% of his basic. So 114% 14% of the basic plus the basic together constituted what is called the $2084 for the lecturer in 2004 and 13. And so in 2014, the government then decided to now carry out the market survey to determine the actual market premium, which is called the MP.
Okay.
The government also, at that time, issued a white paper. And in the white paper, it indicated that the interim market survey is an absolute value. And therefore, when the market premium is introduced, it will be reviewed every 5 years. So 2014, the market survey was conducted. But after the conduction, it needed to accompany with an implementation plan or guideline.
Okay.
The government refused to bring that document. And so the university lecturer had to still be paid with the interim market premium of the 2013.
Right.
2015, the government did not bring the guideline. 2016, the government did not bring the guideline. 2017, the government did not bring the guideline. 2018, the government did not bring the guideline. 2019, the government did not bring the guideline, making 5 years.
Right.
In all this while, the university lecturer was being paid the absolute value of the interim market premium, which has been frozen by the white paper. And so, at 2019, UTAG said, employer, please, the deal was to carry out the interim market survey, we have to determine our actual premium because we may even be worth more than the 140% that you give it to us. So for fairness, let's carry out. And so 2019, the government again decided that they were going to carry out another market survey. It took them 2 years to bring that report, which is 2021. That's the report that they brought in December 2021 that UTAG was complaining about.
Yeah.
That had been 5 years. So the question we asked up to 2019 was that what was there to be reviewed? Because the market premium was to be reviewed every 5 years. So even you have not determined the actual premium, how do you even review it? Because the university lecturer was still being pegged on the interim market premium.
Right.
I hope you understand the unfairness there.
Yeah, you're following. You're following.
UTAG was okay with that. So when UTAG went on strike on October, and we had to temporarily at least halt that strike in October 6th, and we met, and UTAG and the employer reached a moratorium of 1 month.
Okay.
To ask it to go and iron out every difference. In one of the engagements of UTAG with the employer, the engagement said the labor market survey will be completed in October 31st. And UTAG said, oh, if so, UTAG is willing to give you even additional 2 months to complete it holistically so that any other outstanding issue that will be involved in the determination of the market premium for the university lecture will be completed so that implementation will start in January.
Okay.
And the employer agreed to that. And the MOA was signed. UTAG wait. November, bring the report they did not bring. When they have actually agreed to bring it 31st October. And in December, bring it, it became a tussle. I have heard them saying that they brought it 31st December. Trust me, it's a lie to their teeth. They brought the report on the 6th of January. And when the report was brought and UTAG looked through, it was evident that the reason why UTAG went on the strike was for the implementation of this market premium, which is supposed to be found expressing in the labor market survey. The labor market survey came with as a skeletal document which has no any evidence or any information that will determine the premium of the university lecturer. And so it means that the employer is just taking the university lecturer for a ride. So this is the basis why university. So university lecturer is saying that, well, until you bring the implementation plan, which you refuse to bring it in 2014, UTAG is giving you all the time to bring it, but until that, restore its interim market premium that was in 2013 at your own convenience. And so that anytime you bring the actual premium, we work with it. But that has become a problem for the employer. And spinning all sorts of, antics in the air to make the university look bad. But this is the holistic picture of the state, of the whole narrative. So the question is that even 2019 report, which is supposed to have been brought in 2018, was released in 2021, which is 2 years old. Meaning that you have even 3 more years to even to do another review. What are you going to review? You don't have original values. So what are you reviewing?
Now, as part of the findings that was stated in the...
The university lecturer is saying that... I can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah. What is it?
So I'm saying that as part of the findings that was stated in the press statement by the National Labour Commission, it stated that the strike by UTAG was illegal and that it did not follow due processes or procedure. Of course, your president also has cause to disagree with what the National Labour Commission is saying. What is your standing on this very subject matter?
Of course, if you ask me to just give you my opinion on that ruling, I wouldn't have disagreed with my president. Let me give you something on the ground, and for you to make your own informed decision, or your viewers.
Right.
UTAG, knowing the rules of going on strike, wrote to Labour Commission. They sent this document, hard copy, by themselves to the offices of Labour Commission on the 20th of December. Right. When they got there, they were physically prevented from entering the entire building by security agents there. I don't know where they come from. I don't know who they report to. Put that aside. Now, UTAG comes back. UTAG had also copied all the state agencies responsible for this impasse, namely,
right,
Ministry of Education, Ministry of Finance, Fair Wages, GTech, and what have you. They copied them. All of them were posted. Then UTAG sends a courier letter of that notification to them. You know what a courier message is. It is a registered mail. And this registered mail, you can only receive it by the recipient and not any other person. This document, aka NLC, did not receive it. All the copied state agencies I've mentioned also said they did not receive it.
Okay.
Which means that since this document purported not to have been received by state agencies and the NLC, it means the process with which UTAG launched the strike appeared or is illegal. But the question is, your thinking is as clear as mine if there are no state antics somewhere. But that is not to discount or discredit the decision of the NLC. So UTAG has received the verdict. UTAG is taking steps to inform its members accordingly. And the NLC has also given a ruling to show the UTAG must meet the employer on the 16th on October. Sorry, it's still of February. UTAG will take the time and reach there, and we will meet the employer, and the current discussion will come. But until that, we still urging the employer to restore the 1 and 2% because, you know, banks, let me give you some classical example.
Right.
Our closest neighbor is Burkina Faso.
Okay.
Our colleagues in Burkina Faso, even their allowances are that better than the University lecturer in Kenya University, Burkina Faso. Our colleagues in Republic of Benin takes better than the lecturer of the University lecturer of Ghana. Tanzania, Kenya, Namibia, Zambia, Botswana, all these countries, lecturers which are colleagues that we work with, we write papers with, take some better than the University lecturer of Ghanaian.
Right.
Not even to mention South Africa. And so, if the employer thinks we are over asking, then we should this medium to tell the employer that Ghana is considered as a lower middle income country. And if you are a lower middle income country, which our peers are at least South Korea, Malaysia, Singapore, and the Asian so-called Asian targets, we should be rubbing shoulder with them.
Right. Now,
but we don't want to demand that.
Right. Now, Doc.
We just want to demand our 114%.
Doc, can you hear me? Can you hear me, Doc?
Restoration. Yes.
Right. Now, I find this a bit perplexing, right? Because, I mean, the National Labour Commission is saying that the issue over which UTAG embarked on this very strike action has been resolved by both parties, and that the Fair Wages and Salary Commission had finished due with even the reports and all that. But here you are saying something, I mean, different from exactly what the Labour Commission, the National Labour Commission has said.
Barnes, if that 1 month moratorium that was given to us, I can't hear you, but what I'm saying is that if I can't hear you, but I'm only trying to respond based on the first word I heard.
Yeah, I'm listening.
But if the employer indeed responded to our call of the 1 month moratorium that was supposed to iron out our differences, then we will not be here.
Okay.
Even the MOA that we signed, their part that they have to even fulfill for the first year, they have not even done that. Even that's a breach of agreement.
Okay.
So for me, I don't take the employer serious.
Now, lastly, before
doesn't take me serious.
Right. Lastly, before I let you go, so in a case where this very issue is not resolved within the shortest possible time, what will be the way forward for us, especially because of the derailment in our academics or perhaps in our education, looking at what we have been through for some time now, COVID-19 affecting our educational settings and all that, and now teachers and lecturers going on strike. In a case where this issue is not, I mean, we are not able to solve this particular problem within the shortest possible time or reach any consensus with the employer, what becomes the fate of our students?
The fate of our students, Barnes, understand that UTAG members are also parents. UTAG members also have wards in the universities. And UTAG members, children also suffer the same fate. So I want your listeners or viewers to understand that the fate of students is not different from the fate of the children of UTAG members.
Right.
And therefore, whatever the outcome will be, following UTAG members that we meet, whatever will come out after those meetings will determine the way forward. I cannot sit down here and say it's going to be cancelled tomorrow or it's not going to be cancelled. I cannot say that because I do not want to disrespect the high office of the National Labour Commission. Right. Because their ruling is binding. And so, but what we can do is to take steps, as it were, to inform our members, which we will follow accordingly in the coming days.
Right. Thank you so much, Mr. Dr. Eric KK Abavara. So we have been in conversation with Dr. KK Abavara, who is the Vice President of UTAG KNUST. Also, Master Tue sharing his views and opinions with regards to the press statement issued by the National Labour Commission. We'll go for a quick commercial break. Return with conversation with an executive from NUKS. You recall that NUKS has also said they are throwing their weight behind USAG and they support UTAG going on strike. Let's go for this quick commercial break. We'll return shortly. Stay with us.
African Center for Capacity Building, AFCAP, organizes the following executive and advanced certificate programs like Executive Certificate in Project Management, Executive Certificate in Human Resource Management, Executive Certificate in Real Estate and Property Management, Executive Certificate in Data and Records Keeping, Executive Certificate in Monitoring and Evaluation, Executive Certificate in Logistics and Transport Management, Executive Certificate in CCTV Monitoring and Installation. AFCAP, where capacity building is our priority. For registration and enquiries, please call 0244 405047, 0242 135523. We have our branches in Accra, Tamale, Kumasi, and Wa. Saturdays and weekdays sessions are available. Admission is still in progress. Enroll now. Join the African professionals. AFCAP, where capacity building is our priority.
Hello? Okay, why? My wife comes and send a message you. Hello? What's happened?
It's a chance to be a quiet say what? I did
Besides, friend of friend, I'm so near you. My wife not testing messages here, and our officer so I'm trying to tell you, she says, I
mean, so we a guy man, and may young who could look cry. And also wants a family drilling company limited for Kana.
What's it then? Family Drilling Company Limited.
Ye two borehole, biofuel, biogas, swimming pool, plumbing works in Naso, ye be, Frey 0240 333 111 and NASA 0244 144 822.
Miampa and you want to do me see? Me want to be here. Family drilling now. Family drilling. Me out with that shit. Hello? Okay, wait a minute. Why? My wife comes and send a message you. Hello? What's happened?
It's a chance to be a quiet say what? I did
Besides, friend of friend, I'm so near you. My wife not testing messages here, and our officer so I'm trying to tell you, she says, I
mean, so we a guy man, and may young who could look cry. And also wants a family drilling company limited for Kana.
What's it then? Family Drilling Company Limited.
Ye two borehole, biofuel, biogas, swimming pool, plumbing works in Naso, ye be, Frey 0240 333 111 and NASA 0244 144 822.
Miampa and you want to do me see? Me want to be here. Family drilling now. Family drilling. Me out with that shit.
So welcome back from that quick commercial break. If you're just joining, this is still News Recap tonight here on Pan-African Television. My name is Ivan Bans-Awa. Now, before we went on the break, I told you that we'll be joined in the studio by an executive from NUKS. So I have been joined in the studio by Opon Chichuku, who is the Secretary for Tertiary Education, NUKS. Good evening to you, Opon. Right, how are you? Right, so real quick, it appears that NUKS are one way or the other solidarizing with UTAG with regards to the strike action. What prompted the decision for NUKS to support UTAG, looking at our current educational dispensation, looking at what is happening, looking at how COVID-19 has affected our educational settings and all that? One would have thought that this is a time where teachers should really pay much attention to students so that we can recover all that we had lost as far as education is concerned. But it appears to be different.
Yeah, so let me say a big evening to your listeners and our viewers as well. I think that if I have to give you a recap of all that has happened from the past year up until now, I think that would give us a better idea of why NUKS is positioning this way this time. From September 2021, where UTAG released their first suspension of industrial activity and all of that, NUKS was vehemently against that action.
I recall that action very well.
When the UTAG vice president from KNUST spoke, you realize that he talked about the fact that from 2014 up until 2019, there had not been any official release from the employer as to how they are going to implement the LMS.
Yes.
And so we felt that abruptly coming out to suspend industrial activities in the wake of not having any further consultations or whatsoever officially with the employer was inappropriate by UTAG. And so NUKS took sternly behind the students and then ensured that UTAG went back to the classrooms. Fast forward, in October, they resumed the suspension and went back on the suspension. Following that, the employer, which is in this case government, who is supposed to implement the LMS, has not made conscious efforts at implementing same. And so one would want to ask, what is failing? Is it that they are not able to meet halfway? Is it that government is taking an entrenched position, or it's UTAG rather taking the position? But when you listen to the conversations, when you look at the facts of the matter, you would realize that truly UTAG within that period had not received any concrete evidence as to how government is going to implement the LMS. Reason why they are going on a strike this time around too. And I'll tell you what, if we are to allow for UTAG to go back to the classrooms as hungry as they are now, as the old adage goes, a hungry man is an angry man. Students are going to, in the long run, be discomforted by what UTAG would, whatever they will go and do in the classrooms.
But conditions that affected UTAG, I mean students, I mean lecturers, as at the time you appealed for UTAG to come back to the classroom or to the lecture halls to ask to aid in education, is not any, any different from what is happening now. But why are you not appealing, especially because you are a representation from NUKS, National Union? You understand what I'm saying?
You see, we are not appealing now because then, like I said, we felt it was inappropriate to abruptly go on a strike when negotiations were not far advanced to a point where the employer was opposing your grants or reliefs that you were seeking.
Right.
Now, we feel that they have had ample time to have such communications, such conversations,
negotiations,
sit on the round table and have negotiations. If up until now, there has not been any show of good faith in resolving all of these matters surrounding the impasse, then we feel that UTAG deserves our backing somehow, because it would serve in the best interest of Ghanaian students to have lecturers back in the classrooms and happy than to have to force a lecturer back in the classroom when he is not. I mean, these lecturers are humans, just like any one of the labor people in our country. And no one would want to work with such appalling working conditions as they state.
Is this the right time to go on a strike?
The timing may not be right. In fact, in all of our quest to stand by UTAG, we would also want to, plead with them that they would consider the plight of students and then the time we find ourselves in now, and not take too much of an entrenched position with government. In fact, I feel that it should be a midway negotiations. If government feels that there should be a new form of review to the LMS to be able to implement the MP, then I think that UTAG should fairway agree so that government could go back to the drawing board, bring out proper prim solution to all of this impasse, and then call back UTAG for a negotiation which will bring finality to the matter. Because the back and forth and the pool and all of that would only in the long run inconvenience students, which we represent.
Right.
But we feel that having to push them straight out into the classrooms when they have outstanding issues that are very pertinent to their welfare is not right. And in that sense, would not even serve the students any right. And so calling on UTAG now, when they have not had any prim and proper conversation with government, we at most we feel like, no, that shouldn't happen. We feel negotiations should be far advanced to a point where UTAG and the government feel okay, a bit satisfied with what is happening, and then we commit to having solved the impasse once and for all. That is the best way out for all of us right now. Yeah.
Earlier on, you made mention of the fact that, well, you also are not in support of the fact that, or perhaps you appropriately appreciate that this is, or the timing might be wrong with regards to the strike action. Now, in my conversation with Dr. Eric Keke, I mean, I asked him that in a case where there's no proper negotiation within the shortest possible time, what happens? What becomes of the students? And he clearly told me that, well, until negotiations are up and done with, and of course their plights are being addressed, perhaps the strike will continue. What is your position to that?
Well, I think that the government is working around the clock to get some of these things resolved.
You think so?
Yes, I really.
But he says otherwise. He says, but Doc says otherwise. Said that they've been on back and forth conversations with government right from October till now.
Exactly, I agree. Doc is right in a sense to say he thinks otherwise, but I feel that the government of the day wouldn't want to, I mean, as it were, disorganize our students' lecture infrastructure like that. And so going into such negotiations, they will be working as well around the clock with all relevant stakeholders to resolve the impasse. But I feel that what is the problem with UTAG has been the acceleration of the development of the issue.
Right.
If from 2014
up until now, I mean, in the conversation 3 months back, they were talking about government presenting a record of what they are going to do to implement the MP. Up until today, we are in January, and they've not seen such commitment from the government. In fact, in his speech or in his conversation with you, he said that what was given them as a report from the government on how to implement the MP said absolutely nothing in that regard, and they didn't even capture something substantive that they could lay claims to and say, okay, you made this promise in the report, and so we are holding you by. And that is the reason for they taking that position as of now. The National Labour Commission might have passed judgment on whatever happened and all of that to bind on UTAG. But like he said, they would work around it in the coming days and then find out what suits them as of now. But I am saying that in the spirit of good faith, if we really want our education to move on, especially tertiary education, to move as much as we want it to do in developed countries, then we should all sit around this table in the spirit of having to put the students first and then not inconveniencing the lecturer as well. Now, talk of education and like you clearly said, putting the students first. I mean, we all appreciate that education is one of the backbones of a nation. I mean, with education, we can get to the point that we all want to get to. Now, looking at this very conversation that started right from 2014 till now, do you think government really appreciates the efforts put in by UTAG to get this particular problem solved? I mean, 2014 till now, if government is not taking an institution as education very serious, and we are still going back and forth with this very negotiation, do you not think UTAG has also not positioned itself in a way that makes government want to take them serious?
You see, in a conversation with Doc, he agreed that upon the rollout of the single spine, when university teachers were put on in 2013, they were receiving an interim MP.
Yeah.
Now in 2014,
interim MP.
Yes.
Yeah.
When the white paper froze that particular bit of it, it puts them in a position where they felt that because of the agreement in replacing the professional allowance with the MP, they were told that it was going to be reviewed in 5 years, every 5 years. Now, you have not instituted the MP itself, the actual MP. And so, just like he said, you would not have any grounds to have to review any MP in the next 5 years. But I feel like UTAG has been or were a bit reluctant in that period.
So you also appreciate that UTAG had been reluctant as at the time?
In that period, in having to request for the MP like they are doing now. Because the situation has been that if that request was made with that kind of zeal and all of that input it is being made with now, maybe we would have made some headway. But that aside, we've gone past that stage. Now we are here. Government is saying that probably we might not know what had happened in the transition between 2016-17 up until now.
Right.
Just maybe anything had happened. But I feel that we are a country where we keep so much, importance to records. And so we should have the records of whatever transpired between the erstwhile administration and UTAG to enable us flow from there. We should not hold this thing so much that it would hold students to ransom. Because in the end, like I have said already, the position of government, the entrenched position of UTAG or otherwise, will still hold students to ransom. As of now, Legon, KNUST, UCC, UEW, all of them are in school. And teachers are on strike. And so it is just incumbent on the employer to take the reins of whatever happened in the erstwhile administration and solve it as quickly as you can.
Now, you're a representation of the student. What has been your words to students who are, as it were, complaining bitterly about the current situation? Our reporters have been on several campuses, the University of Ghana, University of Ghana, a couple of other universities, and I've spoken to some of the students, and they feel bad about the current situation. Especially when some students are now entering into the tertiary cycle for the first time. This is their first year, and they are waiting to experience the tertiary life with lecturers and all that, and they are being met with this very situation. What has been your words to these students?
You see, Ivan, the words have been simple, just like the NUC's president, the secretary have all espoused earlier. The National Union of Ghana Students will want to assure all students that UTAG's position now is something that we have backed because of the interest and the supreme interest of the students.
Okay.
We have all been students. In fact, we are still students. And we appreciate to a very good extent what a happy lecturer can do in the success of a student and what an unhappy one can do. In fact, we've had times when we would have just a little mishap with anybody at all in any whatever mood that you may not be able to tell, and it would so woefully affect you. This is our promise to students, that we will join the force with UTAG like we have started to ensure that government, whatever stakeholders there may be, would come on the negotiation table, and UTAG will also not take our support for them as support by the numbers, and so government will be withered by it and quickly give them anything that they request. We are supporting them to meet government halfway and resolve the issues, go back to the classrooms as soon as we can, resume academic work, and then we all move on from there. I think that from there, at least governments can show some commitment to resolving the impasse, and then we take it from there.
My final words.
Yeah, so thank you very much. Thank you to all our viewers. I think that the National Union of Ghana Students, led by the Iyadom Boakye administration, has really done well so far. We are in our final stages of the administration, but thus far, I think we've had a lot of strides that we would want students to keep hope with. And we are assuring every student that until the final day, we would still be for their utmost interest. And that has been the supreme interest of the Executive Committee of National Union of Ghana Students. Aluta continua.
Thank you very much, Opon Chicheku. We've been in conversation with Opon Chicheku, who happens to be the Secretary for Tertiary Education, NUCS. So this is where we wrap up on News Recap tonight here on Pan African Television. My name is Ivan Vance Aban. Do enjoy the rest of our programs. We'll come your way same time next week. Stay with us. Bye.
African Center for Capacity Building, AFCAM, organizes the following executive advance.